will keep your hearts and minds safe in union with Christ Jesus. There's a well-known hymn that's sung at funerals that says, "When peace like a river attendeth my way, and sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, he has taught me to say, it is well with my soul." In the beginning of many of Paul's letters in the New Testament, he says, "May grace and peace be yours." In the storm on the lake, the Lord says to the disciples not to fear, and says to the storm, "Peace, be still." This morning, I put the question to each of us, do we have this peace? Do we know this kind of peace? Do we want this kind of peace? We certainly need this kind of peace. And how do you get it? Focus on God's love for you and your love for God. Let the joy of this faith fact to all of your experiences of God's grace. Let joy flood your soul every day. Peace then settles in your spirit. And all is well because God is with you. And all will be well because God is in control. And you can say to yourself, I can make a difference because God empowers me. We need to be concerned. We need to be moved to action. We need to be passionate. We need to be principled. We need to be determined. And yet, we also need to be rooted and grounded in Jesus. We need to be anchored in the Word of God. We need this peace that passes all understanding so that we are not anxious and impulsive and without prayer. When we are agitated, we do not think clearly, speak kindly, or act responsibly, especially if we feel desperate, threatened, disrespected, or insulted. Peace reminds us of choices. Peace reminds us of consequences. Peace reminds us of influence and example. Peace reminds us of godly witness. Like the lake on a calm day, we reflect God's image and God's glory when we stay calm and peace-filled. When you wake each morning, ask for peace to be with you throughout the whole day. When you enter the sacred hall, bring your peace with you. When you go home, take peace into every room. You have the opportunity to bring peace to the nation, even as we seek to bring change. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, and we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever.
Brent Simonette, Desmond Bannister, Renwood Wells, Jeffrey Lloyd, Dr. Dwayne Sands, Marvin Dane, Frankie Campbell, Dionisio D'Aguila, Michael Pinsard, Darren Henfield, Ramal Ferreira, Lanisha Rowe, Renzo Rowe, Ellsworth Johnson, Philip Davis, Vaughn Miller, Lakeisha Parker Edson, Ira Lewis, Carlton Bowleg, James Dalby, Travis Robinson, Adrian Gibson, Donald Sanders, Frederick McAlpine, Heinz Johnson, Mark Jones, Michael Folk, Miriam Reckley Emmanuel, Reese Shipman, Reuben Rami, Ricky Mackey, Shannon Don Cartwright, Sean L. Ferguson, Glennis Hannah Martin, Hazel Falls, Chester Cooper.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this being the second Wednesday of the month and sitting of the House, which order of business will be following today? I expect that the order that obtains to the second Wednesday, no resolution having been, the House having not determined otherwise, will be followed.
Honourable member, that was a preemptive strike. I would say, in that we have not begun the order of business yet. So at this, yes, and the next point is the communication by the Speaker, which was preempted by your intervention. So now the Speaker will give the House the opportunity, based on Rule 39, to determine which order of business the House will choose to follow today. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Bamboo Town.
Mr. Speaker, as per the rules of the House, it says we may, not that we shall. And we would move that the House continues with the normal House agenda outside of the second Wednesday. So I do move a motion that the House resumes to the normal order of House business outside of the second Wednesday. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the business of the House follows the normal procedure as detailed in Rule 39(1). As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. The motion is carried. The business of the House will follow the procedure, the order of business as detailed in Rule 39(1). Having said that, just a brief remark following up on the admonition of our chaplain. This is a time of peace and love. We're moving into that season. And so, honorable members, love conquers all things. And so, as we, at the end of the season, we admonish to do so, to do the people business with a spirit of love and peace. Introduction. Yes, the Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador.
Speaker, I make this intervention having regard to your admonition about love.
Yes.
And that which came from the Reverend Angela Palacios about God's love. And God's love reminds us that we should shun evil. And the very appearance of evil. Shun evil and the very appearance of evil. Mr. Speaker, I am satisfied that our democratic society is in peril because of the abuse of power that they exercise in the deliberate targeting of PLP supporters, right? And it is a threat to democracy. It is clear that those opposite is not interested in opposition or the voice of the opposition.
Honorable Member.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Member.
I am moved to say this.
Honorable Member.
Please allow me.
Honorable Member, just before you proceed, it appears that you are attributing to the side opposite improper motives.
Yes.
Yes,
abuse of power. I'm saying they are abusing their power.
Honorable Member, that is in contravention of the rules. That's why I wanted to be clear that is the path that you were on.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker.
Are you on a point of order? Honorable member, the chair recognizes the honorable member for Bamboo Town.
We don't seek to quell any opportunity for an individual to have an opportunity to speak. But the member has risen, but the member has not said on what rule it is that he has risen. We in this House understand and know what the rules are, and so I'm just asking the side opposite and the Honorable Leader of Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition to say in what vein it is that he has rose and taken the floor of the House to be able to speak.
Yes.
And that's the basis on which I'm doing so.
Yes, I understand that, honorable member, but I want to make certain that when you do so, that you do so within the rules.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, it is clear to me that the side opposite, right, is targeting here.
Honorable member, I cannot permit you
Speaker,
to make that allegation. That's an unsubstantiated allegation that imputes improper motives.
I'm about to substantiate it, Mr. Speaker. If you ask me, I will substantiate it. Mr. Speaker, the bottom line is that the side opposite does not appreciate or understand the tenets upon which a democratic society is rests, Mr. Speaker, right? Mr. Speaker, and I say that, right? I say that, Mr. Speaker, and it is clear, Mr. Speaker, and it's clear to me, right? For example, if they have been targeting PLPs.
Honorable member.
What has happened then, Mr. Speaker?
Honorable member.
What has happened?
Honorable member.
The allegations of corruption.
Honorable member.
What are they doing about that?
Honorable member, I cannot permit you to use that, to make that allegation that the side opposite is targeting PLP supporters, because that has not been substantiated.
I'm about to do so. You want me to you ask me to substantiate it? Ask me to substantiate
Honorable
it.
member.
Ask me to substantiate it. And look who's
on a point of order?
substantiate it. Look who's standing up.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for St. Anne's.
Look who's standing up.
Get your feet and say it. Just don't sit down. Okay, Mr. Speaker, the issue before us today is the question of your ruling on the question of whether or not we follow a certain agenda. When we talk about the point of love, that's the only thing it can be on. That is the only thing it can be on. And while we're on that point,
the member is given a position.
Speaker, so the issue that he rose on was substantially on the question of the agenda today, not a wider point to accuse members of anything else. Whilst on that point, Mr. Speaker, he hasn't recognized you.
Honorable member, the member for Calais, what is the point of order, honorable member?
The member is regurgitating a complaint that was raised by the leader of the opposition, leader of government business, who raised the propriety on which I stood. I explained why, and you have allowed me to. So I don't know why this member from St. Anne's believes that he should usurp or continue to question your authority to allow me to do so, which you have done. He's questioning
honorable member.
Mr. Speaker, you are asking me to stay within the rules.
Honorable members.
I'm attempting to do so.
In my head. Nor can he ever know what's in my head. So he's got to retract that comment.
Honorable members.
Mr. Speaker, I heard the member.
Honorable member.
Thank you.
Just a moment. Honorable member for Cat Island. Resume your seat for a moment. And now, honorable members, I anticipated that despite this being the time where we are entering into a period of love, that there would be contentious issues raised. But this is not the point, first of all, to be raising such contentious and, in my estimation, unsubstantiated allegations that imputes improper motives to any member or group of members, with respect, particularly with respect to targeting and making accusations that the governing party side is targeting opposition supporters. I cannot permit that. And it is honorable member, resume your seat. I am not going to permit such an allegation to be made. I have nothing before me that suggests that. And so any statement that has been made with respect to the targeting of opposition or PLP supporters is to be struck from the record and expunged from the records. Now, Honorable Member for Cat Island, Rumpkins, and Salvador, if you wish to make a statement with respect to, certainly.
When you say that there's nothing before you, do you mean that, would you allow me to substantiate any of my allegations? Would you allow me to substantiate it? That's all I ask. Would I be able to substantiate it? Speaker. And not only substantiate, Mr. Speaker, we are not...
Honorable Member.
You're also aware of what...
Honorable Member.
You could take notice of what's going on.
Honorable Member.
Draw your attention to those notices.
Honorable Member.
I only asked the question.
If you wish to proceed
yes, Mr.
along that line,
yes,
then what I would request is that you produce the evidence to the chair that would substantiate the allegation. I'm not going to permit you to stand on your feet and make an allegation that later on we might find was an unsubstantiated allegation, but it has already gone out into the public airwaves. I'm not going to permit that to happen.
Mr. Speaker, I could give the information to you.
No,
I could identify the PLPs. I could say what has been happening.
Honorable
Member. I could say how ministers of this government,
Honorable Member,
who should be resigning now.
Honorable Member. Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members.
Mr. Speaker,
honorable members. Honorable members.
The case has been decided.
Honorable member. Honorable members. Honorable members. Resume your seat. Honorable members, resume your seat. Now, honorable members, if this type of behavior persists, I'm putting all members on notice. I'm putting all members on notice that if this disruptive behavior and disrespect of the chair persists, the chair will take action pursuant to Rule 88 to bring order into this Parliament. I'm not going to permit it, and that applies to all members. At this time, I'm going to adjourn or suspend for 5 minutes to give you an opportunity to resume your peace. And honorable member, resume your seat. It is ordered that the business of this House be suspended for 5 minutes.
but evil. And if you have not the virtuousness of the truth of God's word, you have not no defense. So then, we need, as the Master said, be wise as serpents, but harmless as doves. In other words, be wisely harmless.
Yes, sir.
And Luke 13 and 13, again, Jesus speaks. That is in John, rather. 13 and 13, Jesus speaks once again. And here's what he said. He called me Master. And Lord. This is a capital L. Lord. Master and Lord. And he say, well. And he say, well. For so am I. So then, if the Lord associate or state that well give true definition or defining of him as Lord and Master, and as the scriptures state that this is my beloved Son in whom I am well, wait for the well, in whom I am well pleased, then our affairs must be well for our prospering in Christ. Thus, the word of God to us is the welfare of prospering. It's for all of us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We need to truthfully take hold. Which is to be or need be good. This is our welfare. It means to be good, truthful, proper, and decently in the order of the truth, yea, of the truth of God's word.
Yes, sir.
Is by which we are to prosper within our affair or within our being. Yea, well done. And that's what Jesus said. Well done, thou good and faithful, truthful servant. Thou hast been faithful, truthful over the few, the little.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Make thee ruler over the much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's right.
So, our affairs of prospering need be well done, need be our prospering, especially as people of God, especially as people of God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We supposed to be the light, to be the salt, to be the example, and to be of the right influence.
Right. Oh, right.
So we close in Psalm. We'd like to go to Psalm 122. You see, if you go to the scripture, you would find out that from Genesis to Revelation, the scripture is highly repetitious. It speaks about the same things that God requires of us in different ways, and different heights, and from different perspectives. So we go to Psalm 122 to hear from the psalmist in verse 6. He says, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, punctuation. They shall prosper that love thee. Now that's two different sentences and statements. How can we rightfully pray for the peace of others, even Jerusalem, without that virtue residing first in us? Now, how could we rightfully pray for this if it is not residing in us? Where this prayer of peace is going to come from if it is not truthfully residing in us? Why they that love thee, they love the Lord, shall prosper, because to love the Lord is to first keep his word. To love the Lord is not a yappa yappa. Oh yes, words need to be spoken, but spoken in truth. So
Honorable members, order. Honorable members, order. When the business of this House suspended, honorable members, it was for the purpose of bringing order and the proper decorum back to this honorable place. Now, the chair took the discretion to permit the honorable member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador to address the Parliament. The chair took that position in good faith with the understanding that the honorable member would not raise a contentious matter that would disrupt the order of business of this honorable house. That not being the case, it is the position of this chair that we will proceed through the order of business, and no member will be given the discretion of the chair to raise any matter outside of the order of business, particular matters that could be of a very contentious nature, because the rules are clear. No one is being denied the opportunity to raise a contentious matter, but the rules permit that when contentious matters are particularly about to be raised, that at least 1 hour notice should be given to the speaker so as to not ambush the chair or this parliament, or on a more serious note, members are required to give at least 1 day notice and to raise such matters either through the appointment of select committees or to raise such matters by way of substantive motion. When the chair gives a member the opportunity to address the chair, to address the parliament in good faith, that is not the time to raise contentious matters that can disrupt the order of business of the parliament. And so, honorable member, we are moving through the order of business. Honorable member, resume your seat. We are moving through the order of business. Honorable member, my comments didn't cast any explosion on any member. Honorable member, you are not recognized. Resume your seat. Honorable members, you know, somehow at this time of the year seems to be a time when we should be exercising love. But I remember too clearly Valentine's Day of 2018. It seems as if there was an attempt to duplicate the events of 2018. But we are moving this parliament ahead, and in continuing with the order of business, introduction and swearing in of new members, laying of documents by ministers, statements, laying of documents by ministers. None. Statements and communications by ministers. Communication by the clerk. Messages from the Governor General. Messages from the Senate. Motions for leave of absence, leave to resign seat, and new writs. Presentation of petitions. Presentation of reports of committees. Adoption of reports of committees. First reading of bills. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Yamacraw.
With your leave, Mr. Speaker, I beg leave to lay on the House a copy of the Commercial Entities Substance Requirement Amendment Bill 2019. Pardon me? Today.
Order that the notice be brought up. Honorable members, is there a seconder? Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read for a first time. A bill for an act to amend the Commercial Entities Substance Requirement Act 2018. Order that the bill be read. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. Order that the bill be read for the first time.
A bill for an act to amend the Commercial Entities Substance Requirements Act 2018. Further second.
Further first readings of bills. Second reading and committal of bills.
Mr. Speaker.
Committee of the whole House. Third reading and passing of bills. Consideration of Senate amendments. Resolutions. Chair recognizes the honorable member for Kalani.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move the following resolution. I must read the resolution in its entirety, Mr. Speaker. Whereas the Treasurer of the Commonwealth of Bahamas, herein called the Treasurer, a corporation sole established under Section 4.1 of the Ministry of Finance Act, Chapter 23, revised State Law of the Bahamas 2000, herein called the said Act, is seized in fee simple, in trust for Her Majesty, in right of our government of the said Commonwealth for public purposes of the hereditaments described in the schedule here to hereinafter called the said hereditaments, and whereas the Treasurer has agreed to sell and the Central Bank of the Bahamas, a body corporate, continued pursuant to Section 3.1 of the Central Bank of the Bahamas Act, Chapter 351, revised Statute Law of the Bahamas 2000, hereinafter called the purchaser, has agreed to buy the said hereditaments for the sum of $10 in currency of the said Commonwealth hereinafter called the said currency. And whereas by Section 5.3a of the said Act, the Treasurer shall not sell or make any other disposition of the fee simple of any land vested in him without the prior approval of both houses of Parliament, signified by resolution thereof. Now, therefore, be it resolved that pursuant to Section 5.3a of the said Act, this House approves the conveyance by the Treasurer of the purchaser to the purchaser of the said hereditaments for the sum of $10 in the said currency, scheduled herein before referred to, all that piece, parcel, or tract of land contained by at measurements 356,000 acres and statute on the southern side of Shirley Street, the northern side of East Street, the eastern side of Parliament Street and on the western side of East Street in the city of Nassau, on the island of New Providence, in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and the boundaries of which begin at a point statute situate on the southern side of Shirley Street and on the eastern side of here through Parliament Street with coordinates, whatever those coordinates are, Mr. Speaker. Subject to existing easement right of ways, covenants, reservation, and restriction of record, if any. Mr. Speaker, I move that resolution. And Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the resolution that was read. Resolution that was read here to Parliament to convey the property and the land at the site on which the historic Victoria Hotel and Gardens once occupied. We are conveying the land and the property for the purpose of constructing a new complex for the Central Bank of the Bahamas, which long ago overgrew its premises. For many years, Mr. Speaker, the Central Bank pressed for the development of a new site as the bank grew to meet the challenges and the responsibilities of a new era and a new century. The Central Bank will help in the development and the beautification of an area long in need of revitalization, Mr. Speaker. Yes. And the Central Bank Administration Department Manager, Ian Fernanda, described the proposed facility as an iconic structure and a one-of-a-kind building. The public completion for design of the new complex showed the enthusiasm of Bahamians and residents for beautiful new public buildings and spaces. And Mr. Speaker, it's not uncommon that we pick up the newspaper and we hear multiple complaints about buildings that government either own or occupied that are not being maintained in an adequate fashion. And these problems and concerns must change as we move forward. Mr. Fernando also noted that the new building may serve as a catalyst for the development of the surrounding area. The new central bank will help to beautify downtown Nassau. And the new facility will also include a museum, art gallery, and I am told, a small movie theater. Mr. Speaker, approaching half a century of national sovereignty and independence, our national institutions require new and expanded space for to house the operations necessary for a developing country in a new country. In recent years, the government of the Bahamas developed office sites for the Ministry of Education, the Public Treasurer, NEMA, the Office of the Prime Minister, the Office of the Attorney General, and other agencies. To house other government agencies and to reduce the cost of rentals and leases, the government will need to invest over many years in new buildings and purchases. Mr. Speaker, we recognize the challenges that we face, and that is why the government is moving aggressively with a program where every Bahamian can invest in a particular fund, every Bahamian, and rather than placing their monies in the bank that they would only receive 0.5% interest, these individuals may invest their monies in this particular entity and receive 4 to 5% return. It will be treated as an independent entity so that the buildings, as we construct through this involvement of government, private sector, and every citizen, the buildings would be maintained, and the problems that we see in the newspaper today, we would see no more. And, Mr. Speaker, we are at a time when there are excess monies within the system, yet nowhere to go. And the government is mindful of this and must take advantage of such a situation, because there are many who complain about having their monies in the bank and receiving 0.5%. The government rents in excess of $40, $50 million in facilities today. Would it not be excellent idea, as we have individuals invest in such entity, government rent such facilities. Such facilities are privately maintained. Government no longer has to worry about the complaints and the stress that we experience today. And those individuals would receive returns of 4 to 5%. And I'm told that they may receive even more. And Mr. Speaker, that is the way forward, and that will assist us in constructing a new court complex that is so urgently needed on the old post office building. But as we construct new complexes, Mr. Speaker, it's time that we revolutionize the government entities as we move forward, and therefore the court would be given the judiciary would be given its own budget so that the judiciary can make its own decisions. And can be completely independent of the executive. I note, Mr. Speaker, that the Ministry of Finance set up a special purpose vehicle to purchase the former UBS Corporate Center on East Bay Street, which is now known as Poinciana House. The complex houses the Securities Commission, the Insurance, and the Compliance Commission. To house other agencies, the government will construct, as I've mentioned, and to expand even further, the government will construct a major new office complex on the site of the old city market on Market Street. Mr. Speaker, this would be a part of the over the hill and, in fact, the entire downtown redevelopment. And we would be placed in a position where we can now centralize and have all of our facilities totally connected with Wi-Fi, internet facilities, and modern-day technology. For example, our Immigration Department can be housed in such facility. Foreign Affairs Office can be housed in such facility. Our Passport Office can be housed in such facility. Social services and all related entities to social services can also be housed in such facility as we move to centralize and modernize our Bahamas. Thank you very much. And Mr. Speaker, this new complex is a part of our ambitious and long-term urban revitalization program. It will complement the refurbished Southern Recreation Ground, and I am pleased to announce here, Mr. Speaker, that the refurbishment of the historic Southern Recreation Ground is in progress, and near completion, I've been informed that the complex or the grounds are now 70 to 80% complete, and the contractor had created jobs for 39 individuals, and I'm happy to announce that more than 60% of those individuals were hired from the inner city.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I only at this point in time want to remind the public as to what the new Southern Recreation Ground would look like.
I got this one. Okay. I got it. Okay.
So as the press would see, the speaker had...
Where's Bain Town?
He's out managing the transformation.
The speaker has the new Southern Recreation Ground, which I'm told is about 70 to 80% complete. And Mr. Speaker, I'm also happy to announce that we've established a foundation where monies are being donated to construct and complete such facilities and allow further development within the Over the Hill project. Mr. Speaker, on this, I want to point out that there's a particular walkway that we refer to. No, the next one. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, as you enter the Southern Recreation Ground, there's a particular walkway that the name has not yet been finalized, but today I would refer to it as Heroes Walkway. And that walkway will have history of individuals on a plaque and possibly pictures of such individuals, and would give a history of the contributions that they have made to the Over the Hill community. Such individuals, just to name a few, would be Dr. Walker. We know the contribution that Dr. Eneas have made. We also know that Sidney Poitier's family from DeVoe Street, their homestead is still there, and therefore Sidney Poitier has roots within the inner city. And we must not forget John Chippy Chipman, who is also from Over the Hill. Mr. Speaker, I'm hoping that all of those Over the Hill and others are listening to me, because yes, we spoke about changing Over the Hill, but they must understand that you cannot change 50 years of neglect in 1 year. It takes time. But the transformation will come, and yes, we have started. So we must remember the history of Over the Hill.
Those fellas that went out the room didn't do nothing. Nothing.
What was there, and we would have to recreate what was there, although some cannot be recreated. But we would all remember the drum beat. Yes. We would all remember the Paul Mayer's Theater. Yes. We would all remember the Capitol Theater. We would all remember. Mr. Speaker, the member said he's too young, but I could remember as a little boy going to the Capitol Theater at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock every Saturday, watching Buster Crabbe and whatever. And I would stay in the Capitol Theater from 3 o'clock until 11 o'clock. No. 11 o'clock, the movie is completed. It repeats itself over and over and over. So I would have sat there 3 o'clock and watched the same movie 3 or 4 times until the theater closed at 11 o'clock, and then I will start my journey home to what is now your constituency, the Grove, because at that time I lived on Exuma Street, which is now, they changed my name. It's no longer Exuma Street, it's now called Amos Ferguson. Amos Ferguson. But Mr. Speaker, we would all remember the Zanzibar, we would remember the Cat and Fiddle, and I'm certain that the member is not too old to remember the Palm Tree Restaurant. Oh, yeah. Young. Mr. Speaker, I've also spoken to members, the business community within this Over the Hill community, and I'm happy to announce that many of them are very pleased that for the first time they do not have to pay any business license. They are exempt. And they are happy also for the first time they do not have to pay any real property tax.
PLP did nothing like that.
And Mr. Speaker, many have informed me that as a result of the savings through both business license and real property tax, it is their intention of expanding their businesses and create opportunities and jobs for other Bahamians and other individuals. And Mr. Speaker, that is very positive, and that was the aim and objective as we move forward. I also note, Mr. Speaker, that we are on track to redevelop the New Providence landfill, a long-standing and vexing problem which we are addressing. But I would say no more about landfill because my colleague is very anxious and eager to inform us about the landfill. And I would leave it to a man who is more knowledgeable than I am in the landfill. Mr. Speaker, it's a matter of utmost urgency. My administration took the decision to relocate the main post office to Town Center Mall in order to provide the residents of New Providence with a central and secure site to collect mail and parcels. We were also determined to ensure the health, safety, and security of the employees of the post office. Our decision was more cost-effective and made eminently more practical sense than the proposals of the former administration, which would have taken a long time to complete and which were bogged down in all manner of problems. The old post office site, Mr. Speaker, will be imploded. And I am saying so that the governor of Central Bank would hear my voice. We had the conversation, and yes, the government will gladly appreciate the Central Bank covering the cost for the implosion of the implosion of such facility. And it is at that location, Mr. Speaker, that we intend to build the new Supreme Court with all the bells and whistles and completely extended. The site will have, after implosion, Mr. Speaker, the site will have adequate parking, green space, and display public art by Bahamian artists. The new Supreme Court complex will also include new green technology. In time, we must consider a new parliamentary complex. However, at this point in time, a Supreme Court and judiciary complexes and systems are of urgent need. The current Senate and House of Assembly buildings should become museums, chronicling our development as a parliamentary democracy. The chambers of both houses should be preserved. And Speaker, I think the public need to know some of the conditions in which their legislators sit while debating here in this parliament. There's one particular area that individuals in this parliament would eat, and that can accommodate only 6 in terms of seating. 6, yet we have 39 members, which means that parliamentarians today, as we speak, stand up to eat their meal, be it hot or cold, no tray to hold it, and as the room is filled, others will wait outside, allow some parliamentarians to complete, after which they would then commence. That's the condition that we are subjected to today. There's absolutely no research facility. We must all do that ourselves. But most important, Mr. Speaker, I think the public also needs to know, and nobody likes to talk about it, that our restroom facility has facility for one. One at a time. So it's essential for you to drink your water very conservatively because it's only one at a time, which means that the bathroom facility is being utilized. The other 39 members must wait. And that's the condition, plus the public. I must inform the Bahamian populace that bathroom facility that their parliamentarians, all of us, must utilize with one facility to accommodate one is also utilized by the public. So you can imagine the lines that we have outside. Even members of the press must use such facility if they are in need. Mr. Speaker, so that must be corrected. The revitalization of downtown Nassau is a work in progress. As I noted in my recent national report, a significant development that will help to expand and to grow the economy in New Providence is the proposed public-private partnership for the management, upgrade, and expansion of the Port of Nassau, which has gone to tender. The ambitious project aims to provide for the development of expanded berthing capacity, a new arrivals terminal, and associated harbor front facilities improvement. This major undertaking will tie into the long-awaited and ongoing redevelopment of downtown Nassau. In the redevelopment of Prince George Wharf, the government will continue to own the wharf, but taxpayers' dollars will not be used in its transformation. So it's important for me to repeat that, Mr. Speaker. We will own the wharf, but the taxpayers, our money, will not be utilized. So the redeveloped Prince George Wharf, the new Supreme Court complex and supporting offices, and the beautiful new Central Bank will boost the revitalization, renewal, and restoration of downtown. I also note, Mr. Speaker, that a new embassy for the United States of America will be built at the intersection of Shirley and East Street, helping to transform that area. And I have directed the relevant ministries to present a plan as soon as possible to begin to immediately beautify and clean up Bay Street. But, Mr. Speaker, it was distressing driving this morning. Trucks are still loading garbage and have no covering, and the garbage are dropping on the streets and lining the streets, and yet Bahamians complain about the unhealthiness of our environment when our trucks are not adhering to our environmental laws. So I was more than happy when the minister responsible for the environment had taken individuals to court for environmental infractions. And he's assured me, assured us, and he assured the Bahamian populace that he will aggressively pursue all of those environmental breakers. And therefore, I want to send a warning to all truckers who are moving garbage from point A to point B, that their vehicles are supposed to be completely covered and protected, or they will be taken to justice for breaking our laws. In addition to my personal observances, many Bahamians have reported to me how appalled they are by the state of downtown. And long term, Mr. Speaker,
we need to decide on the best way for the ongoing maintenance of downtown. All of this new construction will total several $100 million. And this will mean more jobs and opportunities for Bahamian businesses, including many small businesses, including at the new Prince George Wharf. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, shops, restaurants, restaurant owners, and other businesses should see increased business over time. Our administration, Mr. Speaker, has other exciting and ambitious plans for the redevelopment of downtown, including an area for cultural activity in the space between Fish Fry and the Western Esplanade. It is our intent, Mr. Speaker, to develop that area in a more organized fashion, and therefore we have stopped all buildings haphazardly along the western shores so that we can do it properly and develop an area that would be both Bahamian and tourist friendly and create opportunities for our local Bahamians to become a part of the tourism. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'm not saying this is what will happen, but imagine, just imagine. Imagine if we isolate the Western Esplanade, that area west of Tiki Shop, what is it? Tiki Bar. Tiki Bar. That area west of Tiki Bar and the area east of Fish Fry. And imagine if we were to treat that like the over the hill. Just imagine. I'm not saying, the press, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying. I'm just thinking. But imagine if we were to declare that area a tax-free zone and design it which would be tourist friendly, compatible and compliant with what is needed by tourists, cruise ships, air arrivals, etc. Run and owned 100% by Bahamians. The Speaker, that in itself will create hundreds of jobs. It means that if you were to put a restaurant there, that is owned 100% by Bahamians in a tax-free zone. They can build without worrying about us. They would not have to worry about business license. Every time, everything they make will be taken home. We can create. No, they ain't wrong. We can create facilities, music, dance, entertainment, etc. But we speak, it's mind-boggling. But this government, the F&M government, will create opportunities for Bahamians so that Bahamians would have an opportunity. We need more self-made millionaires. And that's what we want to do. We want to ensure we have more self-made millionaires by creating that opportunity for them. That is the job of the government. I am not ashamed to say that I'm a descendant of poverty, nor am I ashamed to say that as I stand here today, I am a millionaire. But many, I used to sell Tribune and Guardian and Shine shoes. I never sold peanuts. I ate them, but I never sold them. But shouldn't every Bahamian have the same opportunity? And they should have a better start. I would have started at the starting line, but at least in the 100 yards to complete the process, give them the opportunity to start at the 50 yard. And that is what this government is talking about, Mr. Speaker. Our job is to create opportunities so that many individuals from impoverished areas can now become a part of the economic society within our Bahamas, and let us create more millionaires within our society. New Bahamas. Mr. Speaker, I commend this resolution, and Kalani endorses and move this resolution. I so move.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Marathon.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this resolution. And of course, being a student of history, I want to make a few brief remarks in honor of the occasion, with your leave. I won't be as long as my good Prime Minister, but I think that we ought to. But before I begin, I really want to begin by thanking the I got it right here. I know I ain't on no clock. So. I come to speak from my heart, Mr. Speaker. You know, it is the month of love, after all, right? But I want to thank the good and resilient and proud people of Marathon, who I'm very pleased and honored to represent in this place. I never forget, as I walk up those stairs, that I am serving them. And they must be regarded as resilient, because their former member of Parliament kept information from them that could have harmed them. In particular, information in relation to a gas leak. And they have to be regarded as proud, because they have a goodly heritage, second to none, being in the heart of New Providence. And I want to thank them. I want to say thank you to them for giving me this opportunity to serve. Mr. Speaker, I believe that I am the luckiest minister in the cabinet. And let me explain why. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. And it has nothing to do with the Be a Hero cape, because I know the member of St. Anne's is going to go straight there. So I'm going to neutralize that right now. It has nothing to do with that. Mr. Speaker, when we are born into this world, we are born as individuals. And it's a remarkable thing. We have the members of the government, we have the members opposite. There's a separateness, there's a dichotomy. There's a I am I and me in every ministry. But I mentioned it before with the Ministry of Health, that you're either sick or you're not sick. And on it goes. But with environment and with housing, it is so different, because everybody needs a house. Everybody needs somewhere to lay their head. Everybody that you bump into today, everybody that you see today, needs some place to lay their head. And this is why I'm so very proud to be the Minister of Environment. And I want to say, and I want to congratulate this administration, of which I'm a proud member, that we have launched the most aggressive land reform policy to make Bahamians landowners in the history of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Mr. Speaker, we began with the Queen's Park subdivision. That was actually the first one, where we opened homes that were financed by the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation. Then we rolled into Sunset Close Extension. We rolled out 10 service lots there. where the lots were under $30,000, substantially so. We are now in Roma Street, in Fox Hill, doing the same thing with another set of lots. We are in the process of building out Carmichael Village, 370 lots, all for under $30,000. And Mr. Speaker, on the last occasion I was in Parliament, there was a little bit of excitement. But I want to say that those members opposite whose absence is pronounced, but also barely noticed, they had lots to say. But I want to implore the Bahamian people, and I'm going to speak to them right now, particularly if you are a young person. This is the moment of a lifetime. This is what you've been waiting on. Don't mind them, because each and every one of them, they're going home to a house. So what are you going home to? Where are you going to live? And this is where the rubber meets the road. Take advantage of this opportunity, because it may not come again, Mr. Speaker. It may not come again. There's nowhere in New Providence where you can own land for under $30,000. You can bring your materials in to construct your home duty-free. Mr. Speaker, Central Pines coming soon. Spring City coming soon. In fact, Spring City is here. Title documents and Crossing Rocks. We, as a government, as an administration, have made a consistent and concerted effort to put land papers in the hands of Bahamian people, while the other side shuffled, jived, and talked about it. We delivered on it. And there's more to come. But Mr. Speaker, we're talking about New Providence and we're talking about Nassau. Now I'm gonna change gears just a little bit, because we haven't forgotten about the city of Nassau, Mr. Speaker. And what you're seeing now is an accelerated effort to transition and transform Nassau into the vibrant cultural mecca that it once was. So when we survey the landscape, and you heard the good Prime Minister talk about what's to come. And I love it when he starts to talk like that, because I know that he's a man of action, and we're going to be right there to buttress him, to make sure that these things come to fruition, because we want the Bahamian people to hold us accountable on it. But listen to what was just said. The Central Bank of the Bahamas will build at the old Royal Victoria Gardens. That is going to transform that space, and we thank them for agreeing to demolish the existing structure. Thank you very much. We just let that resonate. The post office imploded, new structures there, new parliament, new court structures, a revitalized port facility, the new U.S. Embassy facility. What we're looking at is the beginning of a movement, and what's so exciting about it is that the city of Nassau is more than just Bay Street. And if you listen very carefully to what was said, we're going over the hill, extending the reach of the city of Nassau, creating the government complex, extending down to the southern recreation ground to create one big transformative space for which we can all be proud. Mr. Speaker, the city of Nassau is really the symbol of our nation. It is where our forebears came from. It is where my grandmother came from, who was born in Arthurstown, San Salvador, but that's another kind of debate. And she came, but I'm not the only one. I'm not the only member of parliament or citizen of the Bahamas or Bahamian who had a parent. My mother was born in Cat Island, or a grandparent who came from the island to the city of Nassau first. This is where they came first, to build their lives, to raise their families, to create their dreams. This is where they came. So we cannot leave the city of Nassau behind, because it is a beacon of hope to everything that we represent and everything that we stand for.
It was given to us by our forebears, and we are determined to leave it in a better place than we found it. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I am very, very proud to second this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the following resolution be agreed. Whereas the Treasurer of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, hereinafter called the Treasurer, a corporation sole established under Section 4, subsection 1 of the Ministry of Finance Act, Chapter 23, Revised Statute Law of the Bahamas 2000, hereinafter called the Act, is seized in fee simple in trust for Her Majesty in right of her government of the said Commonwealth for public purposes of the hereditaments described in the schedule hereto, hereinafter called the said hereditaments. Now, therefore, be it resolved that pursuant to Section 5, subsection 3A of the said Act, this House approves the conveyance by the Treasurer to the purchaser of the said hereditaments for the sum of $10 in Bahamian currency or in the said currency. As many, the Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Central and South Abaco.
I rise today on behalf of the good and industrious people of Central and South Abaco to speak briefly on this resolution, which of course touches many aspects of our society and our culture, which of course is not limited to our capital, but of course will have far-reaching effects on our archipelago and family islands. Mr. Speaker, the member for Marathon, in his capacity as Minister of Environment and Housing, would have mentioned just then a few moments ago as to some new developments within my constituency. Mr. Speaker, not too long ago, I had the immense pleasure and satisfaction of reaching the milestone of being able to be a homeowner myself, Mr. Speaker, and I can tell you that that is, Mr. Speaker, it's a hard to describe feeling, Mr. Speaker, but it's very satisfying, and it's the first time you hold that conveyance in your hand and realize that you own a piece of the earth. You own a piece of your country, your history, your culture. It now belongs to you. And now your responsibility is to care for it. And for many people, it's the place they call home, raise their families, spend many of their years. It's a very special, special feeling, Mr. Speaker. And even though that was a little bit of time ago now, I remember even then thinking, how could this feeling, how could I help to spread this feeling to my constituents and to the Bahamian people? So, Mr. Speaker, that's why I'm on my feet today, to stand in support not only of this resolution, of course, Mr. Speaker, but also the government and the member for Killarney's, in his capacity as Prime Minister, our land policies. So, Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to support that, and speaking to Spring City, of course, my constituents, for a number of years, those homes have sat there in the subdivision in a state of partial completion or disrepair. Mr. Speaker, I'm assured that under the carriage of Bahamas Mortgage Corporation, those homes are just about, if not already, completed, and they should be ready for occupation in a very, very short time, Mr. Speaker. And the member for Marathon and myself will, of course, as we move forward in the near future, have more information on that as well. And Mr. Speaker, you also mentioned Crossing Rocks, which is another area of my constituency where for many, many years, in some cases decades, Mr. Speaker, decades, persons have resided on lands, constructed homes, started families on pieces of land which to this day, clear title has eluded them, Mr. Speaker. And through the efforts of this government, Mr. Speaker, we are very shortly, about to issue clear titles to these persons in Crossing Rocks so that they too can own a piece of the earth, a piece of the rock. They can live and have that stability and have that satisfaction, Mr. Speaker. And I'm honored to be able to be in this position, to be a part of the team that will deliver that to them, Mr. Speaker. I am very, very happy. So, Mr. Speaker, as we see, we are moving forward, Mr. Speaker. We are pressing forward. These actions will have real-life consequences and real-life benefits to the people of the Bahamas. No matter where they live or reside, they will be able to benefit, and we are demonstrating that we are here for them to give them that, Mr. Speaker. And it is immensely humbling and honor and a feeling of passion to be a part of that. So, Mr. Speaker, I say all that, and since I'm already on my feet and continuing with some trends of good news, I'd also like to communicate to my constituents here today that as of yesterday evening, Cabinet has approved, very close, very close, to some roughly $5 million worth of works for the resurfacing and the repair of the Ernestine Highway in Abaco. So, Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank the government and, of course, the member for Killarney and the member for Carmichael, as well as the entire government and all of my colleagues here today, for honoring these commitments and allowing me to be a part of the process, Mr. Speaker. And I'm certain as I move forward, I have my commitment that I'm going to give to my constituents through you, Mr. Speaker, that in short time, myself, member for Carmichael, and of course, my brother and my member for North Abaco will keep all the people in Abaco and our constituents abreast of the developments that we expect to come forward. We will not leave you in the dark on this. So, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to rise and speak on those few words. Central and South Abaco supports this resolution, and as a broader umbrella, Mr. Speaker, is very satisfied with the course and projection of this government's land policy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May God bless all of you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. As many, Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Killarney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as we've said quite a bit, I would close out this debate. I'd only remind the Bahamians that the land policy that was announced here by the Minister responsible for housing and environment, we would aggressively be moving through the Family Islands to ensure that there are proper subdivision developments within the Family Islands with all the light, road, infrastructure, cable, Wi-Fi, etc., so that those individuals would be able to purchase land at affordable prices and would, for the first time, have opportunity to own their own homes. As you move through the Family Islands, Mr. Speaker, it's not unusual to find parents with 5, 6, 7 of their children still at home. And it's not because they do not want to move out. They want to move out, but they cannot afford to move out. It's the government's responsibility to ensure that provisions are made. And this government will ensure that each and every Bahamian has an opportunity to own not only land, but homes in their country. And as was enunciated earlier, they would likewise be able to construct their homes duty-free. That's what this government will do for the average Bahamian. I also want to state, while I'm on my feet, Mr. Speaker, there's been many requests, especially Family Islands, with respect to can they receive the land that they've been leasing for a very long time and cannot go to the bank to try and expand their businesses, to complete their homes, etc., be assured that this government will very soon be moving to regularize all of your land. Land is wealth. I stood up and said I would love to see many Bahamians have the opportunity like I've had, and not only do well as I have done, but better. Each and every Bahamian must have an opportunity to do better. And we will see to it, Mr. Speaker, that each and every Bahamian own his home, their lands are regularized so that they can take that to the bank and complete whatever business or home for themselves and their family. And as we move through the family islands, we will have that regularization commenced and resolved. And that will be done very quickly. Mr. Speaker, I now want to read the first and the last chapter of the paragraph, of the resolution. Whereas the Treasurer of the Commonwealth of Bahamas, hereinafter called the Treasurer, a corporation sole established under Section 4.1 of the Ministry of Finance Act, Chapter 23, revised Statute Law of the Bahamas 2000, hereinafter called the said Act, is seized in fee simple in trust for Her Majesty in right of a government of the said Commonwealth for public purposes of the hereditaments described in the schedule hereto hereinafter called the said hereditaments. Now, therefore, be it resolved that, pursuant to Section 5.3a of the said Act, this House approves the conveyance by the Treasurer of the purchaser to the purchaser of the said hereditament for the sum of $10 in the said currency. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Yes. Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the following resolution be agreed. Whereas the Treasurer of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, hereinafter called the Treasurer, a corporation sole established under Section 4, subsection 1 of the Ministry of Finance Act, Chapter 23, Revised Statute Law of the Bahamas 2000, hereinafter called the Act, is seized in fee simple in trust for Her Majesty in right of her government of the said Commonwealth for public purposes of the hereditaments described in the schedule hereto hereinafter called the said hereditaments. Now, therefore, be it resolved that pursuant to Section 5, subsection 3A of the said Act, this House approves the conveyance by the Treasurer to the purchaser of the said hereditaments for the sum of $10 in the said currency. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. The resolution is agreed. Further resolutions.
No further resolutions.
Members' statements. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Golden Isles.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. I'd like to give thanks to Almighty God, Yahweh Elohim, who's made it possible for all of us to be here, and particularly to thank the good people of the Great Golden Isles constituency for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I sat and I listened a few moments ago to the member from Kalani and other persons who presented from South Africa and talked about land development, talked about Bahamians being empowered. And I'm so proud to hear that. And Mr. Speaker, if you'd permit me, I know the member from Central and South Eleuthera spoke to this. I was born and raised in Greencastle. And Mr. Speaker, one of the things from a child growing up heard the stories, and I was often reminded of it by the member of Yamacraw, who spoke about incidents, similar incidents in Cat Island, of how persons were swindled of land mercilessly. And Mr. Speaker, there's a situation at present whereby, and as I said, and it really concerns me, it's something I'm passionate about, the opportunity for the people where I'm from, where I grew up with. My mother still lives in Eleuthera. Her family members in Eleuthera, who needs to be empowered in that manner. There was a case, Mr. Speaker, that was, it went to the Privy Council, sat in July, ruled on October 15th. And it gives the opportunity, Mr. Speaker, for much of that land that some of my ancestors were robbed of, unjustly taken from them, and that to rectify the whole situation. And for 121 days now, since the ruling of the Privy Council, that the matter, certificate of title, has not been presented. And so, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I would like to speak to the House, make a presentation the next sitting with regards to that matter. And Mr. Speaker, also Mr. Speaker, on June 19th of last year, some 3 of us, honorable members of this House, who were fired. And Mr. Speaker, I accepted whatever the consequences were for my act. Mr. Speaker, there's much talk throughout the country, I'm sure, as you may be aware, with regards to Westminster, and who Westminster applies to, and who it does not apply to. Mr. Speaker, when I was fired, and the press questioned me about other members that they thought were overlooked and should have been fired also, I simply said to the press that I'm forgetting those things that are behind. And I pressed forward. And I simply asked that the same manner in which we were treated under Westminster, that other persons, if in fact it happened, would be treated in like manner. And I'm again asking your permission, Mr. Speaker, to speak to the formation of a select committee on Westminster, and so that can be addressed in detail. Because, Mr. Speaker, as we sit here...
Honorable member, you're making a number of requests and giving notice, actually giving notice. But you're proceeding as if the notice had been given. In other words, what is required now is for you to table your notices, and then when you have the opportunity and presenting on your select committees, then you can bring the arguments that you are now bringing. Or if you wish to make a presentation to Parliament, the normal procedure is that you would visit the Speaker at least 1 hour prior to the session, or in some instances, a 1-day notice is given, and whatever you intend to present, the Speaker would review it with you to determine whether or not it is contentious, and If the speaker is satisfied, the discretion would be in your favor to allow the presentation. Of course, with the appointment of select committees, you have that right. So you can just give notice, and your select committee would be placed on the agenda, and whenever we arrive at that point in the order of business, you are free to rise on that occasion. And so what I would require of you is to present the notice and the statement that you wish to give to the Parliament, that you presented at least a day prior to, and we can have an opportunity to review it, as in the case of the member for Centerville being in town, Carmichael. It applies to all members. That is why I stopped the proceeding this morning with respect to the member for Cat Island, Rumpkins, and Salvador, because it is an abuse of the process to rise to your feet under the goodwill of the chair and make a statement that the chair is not even aware of the contents. And that was the reason for the chair's intervention this morning. So likewise with you, you can bring the notices for the select committee, and then you can bring me your statement, and you would be permitted to present it at the next sitting.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, but those are the two pertinent issues that I would love the opportunity to, and I certainly intend to take advantage of that.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Do you have your notice for the select committee prepared? Otherwise, you can deliver to the clerk.
I will.
So that we can put it on the agenda.
Certainly I will.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you.
Further member statement, the chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Central Grand Bahama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I stand here in the grace of God, and special thank you to the constituents of Central Grand Bahama for allowing me to be here. Unity in the community, clean and maintain. It's a Central Grand Bahama initiative being launched this Saturday, starting at 6 a.m., starting from west of the creek, meaning Hawksbill Creek, all the way down to Sunset Village, which is a part of West Grand Bahama. So I'll be giving my sister the member from West Grand Bahama, a hand. We have 4 teams being assembled at 7 a.m. Team number 1 will be at Harbor West Shopping Center. Team number 2 will be at Lovers Beach East. Team number 3, Hannah Hill Basketball Court. And team number 4 at Sunset Village. During that time, team captains will be giving out trash bags, gloves, and masks to allow our participants to participate in this cleanup and beautification initiative. We are also asking members to secure a flowering plant or a bearing tree. After our cleanup, we'll be planting those flowering plants. And Mr. Speaker, to borrow a word from you, a line from you, no roots, no fruits. So we will be planting fruit trees in the area after our cleanup. And we will be partnering with sanitation services and other corporate bodies in Grand Bahama. So we want to make this a massive cleanup to transform that portion of Central Grand Bahama going into 8 Mile Rock area. We are also announcing Bahamas Wellness Mission, where Central Grand Bahama is securing medical supplies and services to assist the Rand Memorial Hospital and the nursing homes throughout the island of Grand Bahama. So we have targeted a senior citizen or assisted home in each constituency where supplies will be given to the Member of Parliament to allow those participants or those residents to be better accommodated. So on this Saturday morning, once again, we are asking all residents to assemble at those sites at 7 a.m. And I'll be looking forward to coming back to this Parliament to report on the success of that initiative. So thank you, Mr. Speaker, and may God bless you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Further member statement. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Long Island.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, firstly, let me give my sincere thanks in regards to the people of Long Island for electing me to this honorable place. Mr. Speaker, tonight we are having a town hall meeting in Long Island. I'm going to leave here and go straight to the airport. And I'm inviting all of the persons, all of the residents of Long Island to come out. My special guest tonight will be the Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources, and also the member for, he's also the member for Marco City, and the member for North Andros, who's the Parliamentary Secretary. Going to come down and get some good Long Island mutton tonight. Now, of course, you know, Mr. Speaker, they'll also get a lot of good Long Island questions. You know, Long Islanders can put it to you. And so tonight, I'm happy to have them in my constituency. Mr. Speaker, I also applaud the Prime Minister's initiative with respect to land regularization. I'm not going to even speak further on that, but when that comes, there's a lot to say, given the history of land in Long Island. There's a concern, Mr. Speaker, that I've raised, and I need to raise it publicly in this place so that the people of Long Island can understand and know that I am raising these concerns, and that concerns driver's licenses. I've raised that with the minister responsible. The issue is Long Islanders aren't able to have driver's licenses. They're unable to have the licenses printed, and many times, more often than not, they are being given a sheet of paper, a receipt. Long Islanders complain that when they go to the States, when they come to Nassau, they can't rent a vehicle. They can't even use it as identification. And the issue concerns either the machine or the ink. So I'd call upon the member for Bamboo Town to assist with addressing that matter for my constituents. Mr. Speaker, lastly, I want to note that we have been using the constituency fund in Long Island to address many of our going concerns. Recently, we purchased 3 water trailers. We don't have a fire truck in Long Island. Those water trailers will be used to address their pressurized hoses, will be used to address fires and so on. But a year and a half, 2 years ago, we had a situation where a fire almost took out an entire settlement. So those trailers will be strategically placed, one in the south, one in the central, and one in the north. Speaker, also, at South Beach, he was here, he'd probably like this. We're also going to be making some donations to the schools in Long Island, tablets, computers, and assisting with some infrastructural work. For example, resurfacing basketball courts, some tiling work where there's broken tiles in the classrooms and so on. And over the next week or so, we'll be putting out tenders with respect to ramps, fishing ramps, 1 or 2 fishing ramps, a couple of bus shelters, and also park benches. And this is all, Mr. Speaker, from the constituency fund. So Long Islanders, those persons who are carpenters, who are builders, I call on you to give me a reasonable rate. It's not just because this is government, you don't come with those high prices. So we're trying to give you some work that then at the same time help to develop our island. So I call upon you all to feel free to submit your bids when those tenders go out. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for North Abaco.
People in North Abaco, and to congratulate Long Island for the wonderful work that he's doing through the means of constituency funding. You know, in the islands, those of us who have the privilege of representing these communities have to be creative in the way that we use this money. You are to be commended. Mr. Speaker, I want to extend condolences to Mrs. McIntosh and her son Leslie on the passing of her daughter Dolores Love in Foxtown. I spent some time home on the weekend, and I was able to visit with her, and I asked the nation to pray for her, as she's lost recently 3 of her children, and it's very difficult for parents to have to bury their children. I also want to extend condolences to Maggie and Gordon McIntosh, who lost their daughter tragically a couple of weeks ago in a boating accident. Recently, we buried Veronica Henderson, who was a contributor to our community. She was a wonderful teacher. On the Christmas break, we fed some of the senior citizens to a luncheon which she acted as the MC. And I can tell you that we had a wonderful service which turned into something of a praise and worship affair, which she led. And I believe in that time, as we say in the island, she must have been traveling then, because it was a wonderful time in the Lord. I also want to extend condolences to Ripper and Stephanie from Treasure Key, who buried Ripper's mother in Grand Key a couple of weeks ago. Well, Speaker, before I take my seat, I want to commend and thank the community of Abaco, Central Abaco in particular, for the response which we saw, my brother James and I saw in the Haitian incident, which ended so tragically. We were able to recover 33 bodies, but the entire community responded in an effort that sort of showed what we are as Bahamians, demonstrated our humanity. Of course, you saw the funeral services for 22 here in New Providence on the weekend. We were forced to bury in Abaco some 9 persons just before the service here on the weekend. But I want to commend the response from the fire services and other department individuals from Guana Key and the surrounding keys who initially responded before our security services could come. And so to be commended, I think, and I'll say this publicly, is the Senior Island Administrator, Maxine Duncombe, the Chief Superintendent of Police in Abaco, Mr. Mortimer, Petty Officer Dwayne Gray, who leads the team from the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, Valerie Pratt, who's the manager of the clinic in Abaco, which their morgue was pressed into service as they had to manage all of these bodies, and Kimberly Wells from Environmental Health, who all came together and galvanized. I also want to thank the local Haitian community for responding with clothing and succor for those survivors before they were able to be brought into Nassau, where they could receive more particular attention. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Southern Shores.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I rise for and on behalf of the good people of Southern Shores. But before my remarks, I would love to express sincere condolences to Mistress Lucinda Roll on the passing of her beloved husband, Garth Roll. Garth was a jolly old soul. He was visually impaired, but whenever I had the privilege to visit, his stories were as colorful as if he was looking at the situation, and he always had wise and sage advice. I regret that owing to official business, I was out of town and couldn't attend the funeral, but I want Mrs. Roll and the family to know that my thoughts and prayers were with them. I also want to express condolences to the family of James Gilbert on the passing of his sister, who was also funeralized on the weekend. Mr. Speaker, it's Valentine's. Valentine's is in the air. And I want to say a happy Valentine's to the good people. But it's in the air already. I've seen, feeling the love. Yes, I've seen the arrangements moving around. And I want to say a happy Valentine's Day to the good people of Southern Shores. And as my gift to the good people of Southern Shores, I will, at the end of this month, launch a campaign called Love Your Yard. Love Your Yard. You know, Jamaicans refer to Jamaica as back in the yard. Androsians refer to Andros as the big yard. I want Southern Shores to think of the yard, not simply in the context of the 50 by 100 or 100 by 100 that they may occupy, but the constituency and the environment in its totality. and to express the love to this yard to the extent that they are prepared to keep clean that environment, that they are prepared to fight off strangers who may come to dump in that environment. This campaign will take the form of the removal of derelict vehicles in the public spaces. Also, after the completion of the proper authorization forms, we're also prepared to move derelict vehicles that may be on private property. This campaign will also include, and we've spoken to some residents already, I want to thank the leaders of the neighborhood crime watch associations who I met with, who are partnering with me. This campaign will also involve the re-erection of down street signs, stop signs. This campaign will also include a best kept yard competition. And so I invite the good people of Southern Shores to await further notice. By the time as we have our regular association meeting on the 21st of this month at Galvantines, the relevant forms will be available and more details will be given. I would be remiss if I were to send Valentine's greetings to Southern Shores and not say a happy Valentine's to my very wife who helps me.
That's called love of your life.
Yes. She's been my Valentine for about 32 years now. And so, Catherine Patricia, happy Valentine's to you. My mother, Lavinia Campbell, celebrates her birthday tomorrow. So I join the entire Campbell clan and wishing you, Lavinia, I know you're sitting there watching. Mommy, we're all wishing you a happy birthday and a happy Valentine's. See you in church on Sunday. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Tall Pines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Another good member for Eleuthera. He understands. Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure as usual to stand on behalf of the people of Tall Pines. I want to just firstly thank Mr. Hank Ferguson, who was our guest speaker on Monday at our town hall meeting. Spoke about the WTO and its impact for WTO in the Bahamas and what it means. Mr. Speaker, we had a very good showing that night, and the information shared was educational, and it really opened persons' eyes as to what the WTO is about, notwithstanding some of the things they've been hearing on the street. Mr. Speaker, at that town hall meeting, various questions would have been raised, but put to me as the Member of Parliament, and I want to assure the people of Tall Pines that those issues, particularly regards to garbage collection, we have already communicated to the Minister and the Director in that regard, and they are being assured that those issues will be addressed. Issues, Mr. Speaker, I want to assure them issues regarding to the public landfill. A very short order, I wouldn't preempt the Minister, very short order, that issue would be brought back to the forefront. And also, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the good people of Jubilee Gardens, their newly formed Crime Watch Association, and the meeting we had last week, that we've started our environmental cleaning and so forth. Yes, we're gonna, thank you, Minister. But we have already cleared the pool, Mr. Speaker. I spoke several times about the pool that is in Jubilee Gardens. We took the initiative through our constituency fund, as the member spoke about, to clean the bathrooms and the pool, and empty that pool. It became a hazard because as it rains, Mr. Speaker, that pool that's not in proper use, it fills up with water. It became a hazard for the young people and all residents, really. So we want to assure them that that project and other projects will continue to be carried out. So I want to thank particularly Ms. Strawn, the Minister for National Security. We're working with our National Crime Watch initiative. I thank Ms. Strawn, who is in charge of the Southwest Area Crime Watch, that we're working with them to make that a reality. Mr. Speaker, also to my good people in Victoria Gardens, and other areas. I want to assure them that me as a member of Parliament, we've already sent out letters to particular businesses that are in breach of environmental, breaching the environmental issues. Speaker, that letters have already been sent, Minister, and I think we have CC'd you, advising them of our intention to address the issue with the ministry and to take steps. Like the minister said, there's a court in effect now. So if that becomes necessary, Mr. Speaker, we would champion the ministry or advocate on behalf of the people of Victoria and other areas to take that unfortunate, and I hope that we'd have to get to that extent, to move in that direction. But to say to them that we are taking an environment serious, and in very short order, the minister will address other issues as relate to the environment. Speaker, finally, on the 23rd of February, Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the fact that it's after Valentine's, we're going to have a special event for our senior citizens in Tall Pines at the constituency office on the community center, where we're going to invite all the senior citizens of Tall Pines. Please call the constituency office to register your senior citizen or register yourself. And we're going to have a special event for you on the 23rd of February, so that we would show our appreciation for our senior citizens. We always do parties and events for young people, so we want to show them that we appreciate them and we care about them. Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure again to speak on behalf of the people of Tall Pines and wish them happy Valentine's. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Central and South Eleuthera.
Speaker. First of all, I'd like to thank the good people of Central and South Eleuthera for giving me an opportunity here to serve you in this honorable House. Mr. Speaker, just 2 weeks ago, for the first time, I discovered that great little community in the island of Eleuthera called Savannah Sound have such great history. And while I attended the church services, Mr. Speaker, I discovered that the Mother Bethel AME Church, 110 years old, started in the island of Eleuthera in the great community called Savannah Sound. It has spread throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and I would just like to congratulate those persons. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the government on behalf of the people. Today, as we drive the island of Eleuthera, you can see in the north where the road work has begun to take place. I want to thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, and your government. The Eleutherians are quite pleased that our Queens Highway is now getting some attention. Mr. Speaker, I also want to remind the people of Eleuthera, in particular, that the 4 projects that has been announced for the island of Eleuthera is well on the way. It might seem to be a bit slow, but I can guarantee you the project at the Navy base is well on the way. The project at Windermere Island, North Windermere Island, is taking place as we speak. The butterfields are taking place in South Eleuthera. And of course, the Disney project is well on the way. So I say to the good people of the island of Eleuthera, give God thanks, because everything is beginning to happen. That's happening under this government. Mr. Prime Minister, sorry, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to send out to the great people of Eleuthera a happy Valentine tomorrow. Especially my wife. I have little Stephanie and little Shauna in the home. There are 3 ladies in my home. Special Valentine to you girls, and may God bless. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Happy Valentine's. Come back to the Bahamas.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Further member statements? The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Baines and Grantstown.
Thank you. Speaker, fire up here. Mr. Speaker, I just rise very... I think the member for Southern Shores has covered that already. I'll leave that alone. But use the setup. Mr. Speaker, I just rise to reiterate from this morning. I know the Prime Minister, I see some pictures laid before us today, and I just wanted to report that the Southern Recreation Ground is well on its way, Mr. Speaker. I see it for myself now, and I want to commend the Prime Minister and his team and the Over the Hill Rejuvenization Partnership Initiative for the work that they're continuing to do in the inner city community. I know just recently, I think they had the conclusion of the Environmental Monitors Program that I had the opportunity to go and to sit in and to visit and to hear from some of the participants in that initiative. And I think that it's going to have a tremendous improvement on the community and to give individuals from the community an opportunity to be a part of the development and the enrichment of our community. So I wanted to stand and to recognize and appreciate the work that the Over the Hill is doing in the city community. We have some ways to go. We have some critiques to be made, but overall, I think that it is reaping a tremendous benefit for the people. The Prime Minister would have spoken on a few occasions about various high-rises, facilities that will be coming to our inner city community. And so I wanted to rise to put that on the record so that we ensure that we continue to stay on course and we deliver on the promises that we would have made. And so I thank him for that, and the people of the community can now look forward to economic empowerment as the F&M government has promised, and we can see that we are delivering on the promises. And Mr. Speaker, I look forward to continuing to be a part of the change team that is revolutionizing this country despite some ready to go despite what we may hear on the outside. And finally, Mr. Speaker, my constituency office continue to work. We have on schedule our first town hall meeting, the first quarter town hall meeting set for next month, March, where we will be addressing the concern of the community. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I thank you, and I look forward to the great work that the Over the Hill is doing.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Garden Hills.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the wonderful people in the Garden Hills constituency, Mr. Speaker, and to say how grateful I am as a member of Parliament that represents Garden Hills. And sometimes I say to myself, Mr. Speaker, because I live in Garden Hills, been there for over 35 years, I'm representing myself, and so whatever I do in the constituency, it's really about helping not only my neighbors and my friends, but improving my own quality of life. Mr. Speaker, I want to invite all of the residents of Garden Hills next Saturday, the 23rd of February, to a career expo, Mr. Speaker. What we propose to do in Garden Hills, Mr. Speaker, is to do the very basic things for the young persons in Garden Hills. We're going to have a career expo where we encourage and show individuals how to write resume, how to participate in an interview, and to do the simple thing like just filling out an application for the public service. As we, Mr. Speaker, look forward to job opportunities, we noticed last week that the Defense Force is advertising that they need able-bodied men, and other government agencies are doing the same thing, Mr. Speaker. We in Garden Hills want to participate in that, and so we're having this expo to engage young Bahamians, to prepare them and to get them ready for their careers, whether it be in the government service or into any agency, Mr. Speaker. And so next Saturday, 23rd, I invite all young persons between the time of 9 a.m. and 12 to meet us at SC McPherson, where a team of professionals will assist you in building your resumes and getting you prepared for the job. Mr. Speaker, as I am on my feet and I don't see my other MP, sometimes I do take the liberty, Mr. Speaker, to thank the government for what it's doing in Exuma. And just yesterday, the Minister of Public Works went into Baratari and commissioned the dock in Baratari, on Monday, that is. And he said to the people from my hometown that you're next. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Minister of Works for doing the wonderful thing to help my people, and also to thank the Minister of Education who responded before the crisis to make sure that the school in my hometown is going to be properly maintained. That shows, Mr. Speaker, our commitment, our work, and that we are committed to the people of the Bahamas. And so on behalf of the people of Exuma, and on behalf of the people of Exuma, notwithstanding that the MP is not here, I want to say to ministers here, thank you for doing what you committed to do and making Exuma and the Bahamas a better place. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Chair recognizes the Honorable Member from Marco City.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to extend condolences to Ms. Sherry Pinder and the entire Pinder family on the passing of her husband, and of course an outstanding father in the Marco City constituency. I would also like to announce to the fishermen, or to remind them in Long Island, that immediately before the town meeting this evening, we will also be having a meeting with all of the fishers on the island. Mr. Speaker, this is a part of our continued consultation throughout the family of islands on various fisheries matters. We have been traveling extensively since July, speaking with both the fishing community and, of course, the farming community on each of our family islands, and we intend to visit every constituency with our message in urban centers, but especially in our family island communities. We intend, of course, to visit Michael, that has a number of wonderful opportunities to spend some time with the outstanding Member of Parliament addressing some of the concerns that she has been bringing to our attention on a consistent basis, and we are long overdue to assist. So this evening, we look forward to joining you in Long Island in 2 town meetings. Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to extend condolences to all of those members of the Bahamian and Haitian community who lost loved ones recently in the ill-fated trip from Haiti. Mr. Speaker, many of our brothers and sisters died in that tragic voyage, and I stand with my colleagues as we seek to bring to justice persons who continue to captain these boats that have caused the loss of life. And so, Mr. Speaker, it really saddens me tremendously that we continue to lose our brothers and sisters from the South as they seek a better life. Mr. Speaker, finally, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to make mention that this Thursday I will be in office much shorter time than previous Thursdays. Last Thursday, of course, 3 hours during my Thursday meetings, and I tend to hold constituency office hours Thursdays and Saturdays. I assure you, Thursday I have another assignment, and so I have to be home. And I certainly look forward to being home on Thursday evening in particular. And so I will be back in office on Saturday, immediately after the funeral in West End. Mr. Speaker, one final point with respect to a vexing issue that many Bahamians and family island communities, fishing communities are facing, and that is the poaching issue. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources has had what we thought was a very successful meeting with the American Embassy and with NOAA and with various government agencies with a view of determining who the beneficial owners are of these poaching vessels. I am pleased that the government of the Bahamas has made a determination that the Dominican vessels will not make its way back in circulation. So for all the persons who continue to call me seeking to purchase those vessels, the Cabinet of the Bahamas had said in unequivocal language that there is no possibility that those vessels will be sold. Instead, in short order, we will make an announcement what will happen to those vessels, but they will not be available for purchase. And yeah, but we will make that an event. And so, Mr. Speaker, we are going to determine who own the vessels that continue to poach in Bahamian waters, and whether they are Bahamian, American, or Dominican owners. We, along with our partners throughout the region, we intend to pursue them and to prosecute them. And so we ask you to keep the faith that we are on the job and working on your behalf.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Yamacraw. Honorable members, we are beyond our 30 minutes for member statement, but this being the period of love, some love is being extended.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Most obliged. Mr. Speaker, I just have a few short announcements that I would like to make about projects going on in the Yamacraw constituency. First, I would like to thank the members of that great constituency who continue to support me and this government and our efforts to take the Bahamas to the next level. Mr. Speaker, I would like to commend the Minister of Works, and most certainly Director Mr. Clark, for the infrastructural work that is being done in Yamacraw. We, earlier in this administration, Mr. Speaker, we did an analysis of the community. We recorded it by way of writing official letter to the Minister and to the Director, and that actioned some of the inspectors to come into the community. And they did an inspection and found that there were some deficiencies with regard to drainage, street signs, speed bumps, and road repair. And Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted to say that those works are on the way and they're continuing. And on behalf of the member of the community of Yamacraw, we would like to extend our profound gratitude, Mr. Speaker, to the government of the Bahamas. We understand that this is what the government should do. But Mr. Speaker, we are a grateful and a thankful community. Mr. Speaker, two projects I would like to outline. This year, we are going to institute a year-long project in the Yamacraw constituency. We have our posters, and so you would see our Christmas posters come down, and we will be focusing, Mr. Speaker, on the protection of women and children, and how the protection of women and children produce strong men, and how strong men protect women and children. So you will see on our billboards information going up for that, and we do intend to work very closely with the work, the inspirational work that is being done by the Minister of Social Services in this regard. Mr. Speaker, we understand in Yamacraw, as so other communities, that the Master has given us a great commission. And he said, to the least that you've done unto these, you've done unto me. And we're partnering, Mr. Speaker, with the Bahamas Correctional Institution, where we will work with them, and they intend to come out, Mr. Speaker, and work with us in the community. So we would be in the retired persons in Yamacraw. We expect we'll go into the correctional facilities to provide inspirational talks and guidance to those persons who are now there. And they will come into the community and assist us, Mr. Speaker. We will also assist them with their library, and in any way that we can be of assistance to the rehabilitative program that is now ongoing in the Bahamas Correctional Institution. So we intend to work very closely, Mr. Speaker, with the Minister of National Security and with the Acting Commissioner of Prisons to see that this program is fulfilled. And we encourage other constituencies with not identifying any political distinctions to participate with the Minister of National Security and with the Commissioner of Prisons as they work toward the rehabilitation of our brothers and sisters. I want to thank the Prime Minister on the 19th. This Tuesday, we will be having a monthly Constituency Association meeting, and all are invited to attend. We'll be focusing on small businesses and the benefits surrounding that program. Mr. Speaker, I'm elated to hear the Prime Minister not just speak about land reform in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, but to hear the presentation made by the Prime Minister, the presentation made by the Minister of Environment, and most certainly, Mr. Speaker, having had discussions with Ms. Vienna Gardner, who is in charge of the deliverables unit that the Prime Minister has established. And I'm proud to announce that my alma mater, and I'm quite certain the alma mater of a number of persons who sit in here today, the University of the Bahamas, on the 28th of February 2019, will be holding a panel discussion. And Mr. Speaker, when I spoke to Mrs. Gardner, who heads the deliverables unit, with specific, and she has a specific mandate to look at land reform. And we do recall the white paper that was laid in the House of Assembly. She willingly volunteered all of the information that they have garnered at this stage. And in the spirit of collaboration, to collaborate with the University of the Bahamas in this effort so that we can bring to fruition I think what is some of the greatest legislation to be passed in the Bahamas since the passing of our Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I said early January, and I see that the member for Cat Island, Rum Key, and San Salvador is not here, that in June we were having the Rake and Scrape Festival in my beloved Cat Island. I would like to say to Cat Island that not very much is being done in that island since one Mr. Oscar Johnson. But under the leadership of the most honorable Mr. Dr. Hubert Minnis, help is on the way. And so I would just like to say to them that the land reform shall come to fruition. I expect that as many of us who can attend, will go to Cat Island to witness and experience one of the greatest cultural experiences, the Rake and Scrape Festival, that one can ever participate in. Thank you very much. But it would be remiss of me if I do not highlight my, some call them their better half, but my better three-quarter. My wife, my beloved wife, Mrs. Cathy Ann Cromartie Johnson. I would like to wish you happy Valentine's Day, and to say, as my cousin, I will be there, your sweet boy will be there on tomorrow evening to cook for you. And I may not be the best singer, I do sing in the choir, but I will put a tune together. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Chair recognizes the Honorable Member from Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, it's my profound pleasure to be the voice of the fine people of the Macau constituency. And I heard so much of good news about the various things that has taken place in all of these other islands. And first of all, I want to thank the Honorable Member for Kalani, who started last year with me, visiting those islands and speaking one-on-one with the people in town meetings, and letting them know of the government plan and letting them know about other items that's on the agenda for them. And so, to this end, Mr. Speaker, I am very grateful for all that is happening in Nassau, Nassau, but Michael still needs that attention, that much needed attention by my caring, loving government. And I think it was last month sometime, an announcement was made for the all-age school that is presently there, that the school for Inagua will be first priority. And I want you to know we are looking forward to that promise, and we are looking forward for that to happen. And so while we celebrate, while Macau celebrate with all of the stuff that is happening here within Nassau, I want my government to be mindful also that Nassau is not the Bahamas, and that we must pay attention to those southeastern islands where those persons are still looking, still have hope, and still are hopeful for what the government had promised to deliver. And like I said recently, again, and then the Minister of Works, who was there with me also, came out and saw the people, spoke to them, and encourage them. And then recently, we had the Minister for Social Service and Urban Development, we were there, who spoke to the people, who was able to spoke to some of the social aspect that they are experiencing and promised that they will get it done. And so with all of this jubilant celebration, I want to say a special thank you to what else already happened, and I'm looking forward for the rest of it to take place, because I understand it's not just anybody's time, but it's the people's time. And I know that we can deliver and we will deliver. The people are not asking for much in those southeastern islands. And I heard the Honorable Member for Kalani spoke about the land. And as he would know, that is one of the main issues that most of the island persons have. They are on these properties, but they don't have the proper documents to say in the event that they need to go and borrow or whatever financially. And so this is a good news for them today. That's in short order. And when we had a term short order, in my view, it's short order. And so I am looking forward to all that was made, all that was said. And I understand all of the, sometimes life can be very complicated, but I believe with God and with the help of the heart of the leader and the government, nothing is impossible. Yes, I believe in Ephesians 3:20, he is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all. But I am looking for this government now to look at the Michael constituency to do exceedingly abundantly above all. And so to this end, I want to say special thank you to my government, our government, who's doing an awesome job. Yes, there's more to be done, and we can do more, and we will do more, and we can fix some things, but in the final analysis, I am looking, as I stand here for these people, the people of the Michael constituency, I am looking for a little bit more attention in that area, and that, that the other persons will follow suit, the ministers, them, will come in and say to me, okay, I know the islands is far apart, yeah. I know it's an hour plus, yeah. And the minister, we were there, and coming back, it was a little hiccup, because, those little small plane, I felt a little bit ill. But I thank God that he was there. Thank you. And I'm looking forward for big and better things. And until this end, I want to say a happy Valentine to all the constituency of the Michael, and to my husband, the one and only Bishop Leroy Emmanuel, who have been my lover, my life, for the past 30+ years. And to my daughter, happy Valentine. And thank you again for all that the government is doing. But Michael, we're looking forward to the same movement that is in Nassau. We're looking forward for that. And on this, I thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. As we bring this member statement to close, I just want to thank the good people of the Nassau Village constituency for affording me the opportunity to represent them. I am extremely motivated by the recent development in our constituency. I have already thanked the Minister of Agriculture, but our sow and grow and no root, no fruit program has really taken off. And the people are very excited about backyard farming and community farming. And we've also initiated an after-school program on Mondays. We have teachers teaching the grade 6 and also the BJC syllabus on Mondays. On Wednesdays, we do art and craft. And on Saturday mornings, we do agriculture. And we actually have members from BAMSI who would come out, bring seedlings, teach the kids how to plant, how to fertilize the ground, how to irrigate, and how to develop a backyard farm to the point of making it productive. We are bringing in some laying hens that lay 1 egg per day, and we're bringing in at least about 10 of them, and we want to duplicate that about 10 times. So we'll be producing anywhere from 70 to 700 eggs per day. Those are the initiatives. Now, in the hope we are bringing some love and hope, love and hope. On the 23rd of February at 3 p.m. on Hope Gardens Park, we're going to have a town hall meeting, and I want to thank the member for Mount Moriah and the Minister of National Security. We're going to make a big, big announcement on that day. It will be a secret until that day. And so all constituents in polling division number 5, which is Hope Gardens, polling division 7, 8, and 14, in particular, we'd like for you to be there at 3 p.m. on Saturday the 23rd. That's not this Saturday, that's the following Saturday, where we will make this big, big announcement. And so, with that, I want to wish everyone in Nassau Village, including my lovely wife, a happy, happy Valentine, and ask her to look forward to an exciting weekend. With that, we'll move the order of business. Appointment of select committees. Instructions to select committees. Discharge of select committees. Notices for future meetings. Chair recognizes the honorable member for Bamboo Town.
Normally, the opposition would have renewed their notices, but I renew all matters in the name of the government and do signal that we will return to the House tomorrow at 10 a.m., Thursday, the 14th, Valentine's Day.
Adjournment.
Mr. Speaker, I do now move that the House adjourns.
I second that, Mr. Speaker.
Until 10 a.m., Thursday, the 14th of February, 2019.
Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the House adjourns to 10 a.m., Thursday, the 14th of February. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. Final adjournment.
I do now move that the House adjourns.
Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the House adjourns to 10 a.m., February 14th, which is tomorrow morning, Valentine's Day. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. The House stands adjourned.